Hello and welcome to the Hindsight Podcast, roundtable sports broadcasters. I am Yubby Nduonofit, and I'd like to welcome Biola, Kazeem, Mozez, Praiz, Chisom, Mbonu, Temisan, Okomi, and Deji Omotoyinbo. Guys, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having
I'd like to start with what I hope is a nice icebreaker. What has surprised you the most about the actual profession of broadcasting?
What has surprised me the most about broadcasting is the lack of money. For F's sake.
Yes.
Nah, I mean, come
Too
on.
much work, too
Too
little
much
money.
work, too little
Me
money.
too.
That's the biggest shock. You put in all of your time, all of your effort. You never get paid well enough. So you now have to go look for alternative streams of income. So that's the biggest shock for broadcasting and journalism. No money.
I think what we need to ask again is if this is the same feeling across board here. I would say yes.
Of course.
Absolutely yes. Because the beauty of it is how you go ahead and do, say, a 30 minutes program, a 1 hour show, a 15-minute show, and you do not prepare for 15 minutes for it.
Yep.
You literally prepare for a day, 2
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
a week at times.
A whole weekend.
Just to get that show on board for 15 minutes. And everybody say, oh, wow, I enjoyed myself. And you're like, you had no idea how much has gone into all of
You had
that.
no choice but to enjoy yourself. I make sure of that.
You know, and when you get remunerated, you're like, come on.
In fact, it was Deji that told me many years ago. Because you know when you start out in this thing that you do, and people see you on television or hear you on the radio, anytime they see you outside, you're drinking or something. Hey, Biola, what do you think Posco should have? So I used to get a bit upset with it. It was Deji that told me that he now told somebody one day, he said, if you see a doctor drinking in the bar, will you open your shirt and say, I beg, I have an injury here? So he tells people, I'm not work. I'm just,
Here to help
you know, so those kind of things. That's the biggest thing about the price for broadcasting.
Did you? When is the first moment you realized you were in love with, sports broadcasting as it is? And I'm assuming you're in love with it.
If I wasn't in love with it, I wouldn't leave the oil industry to come work here. When I was a kid, in those days when we were growing up, the back pages was where the sports stories were. And I used to go lock myself up in the toilet. And I'll be reading, like, I'm reading the news to myself. I was probably about 7 or 8. But as time went on, you know how it is with our, I don't know about, I'm a bit older than everybody here. So our generation, you had this, was always mostly the sciences. Wanted to be an engineer, a doctor, and also I ended up in the science. I ended up studying biochemistry. But when I was in school, I was still doing virtually the same thing. Digital, by the way, we're in the same school. So we're the two go-to guys for sports. And I used to do, when they were playing some games, I would do commentary, just generally having fun and all of that. And then I used to do match reports of the school team and all of that. But I ended up studying biochemistry. I ended up in the oil industry. But at some point, that pool never left. So I had this older brother who is like a mentor to me, who sat me down and said, I don't think you're happy doing the job you're doing. I think he sensed something. And I told him really I wasn't. He said, well, I know you like sports. And he actually was my biggest influence. He was the one that used to tell me a lot of sports stories, some fabulous stories, like the Indian 101 and all of that. I don't hold it against about that. So he now said, why don't you? So, and I was like, would I leave this job? It was a bit tough for me. But eventually he said, look, if this is what you want to do, if you don't do it now, you will regret later in life that. So I took that, I resigned, and I went back to school. I went to NIJ for 2 courses, and luckily for me, by the time I finished, private broadcasters were coming up. DBN TV came up, and I was lucky to go there, and I got a job, and that was it. So you don't do this job. I don't think there's anybody here who you don't do this if you don't love it.
Yes.
Because like Temisan said, it's not for the money. And that's what I always tell younger people. It's not, it's a, how do I put it now? It's a profession. It's a passion. It's a calling.
It's a calling.
It's something, you do it, a job, you do a job because you want to pay the bills. You do this despite the fact that you might be struggling to pay the bills. So, I mean, that's just the way. If you don't love it, you can't do it.
I mean, some would say actual broadcasting is a lot easier than auditioning for a broadcast role. Would you agree?
I'm not sure. Depends on where you are. I mean, it depends on where you are at that point in time. If you talk to a lot of broadcasters, at some point you will have to audition. And at some point, you'll catch a lucky break. I think that with auditioning, it's almost like you submitting your CV, like, are you good enough? And so you'll have to go through the anxiety. You'll have to deal with the pressure. So sometimes some auditions is like on the spot. And you have to hold your nerves. You are not confident, but you have to appear and sound confident. You have to deal with all of those. When you get the job, you're exposed to a new level of pressure. So for instance, if you're hosting a Champions League match that the whole of Nigeria is going to watch, you will feel some level of pressure that is totally different from the level of, because auditioning, if you fail, your failure is covered in a dark room. Yeah. But if you fail at this point in time, whatever mistake it is that you make is going to go around millions of homes, all across. So it's a different, level of pressure, both of them. But what I'll say is if you get through auditioning and you get into broadcasting itself, you're going to fail forward. You get better and better and better to a point where you, by yourself, will be comfortable with your own mistakes and you laugh at your own mistakes. Initially, when I started making mistakes on air, it used to kill me for this. Like, how could I have said that? But when I make mistakes, I'm already laughing at myself now. Like, oh, I said this, but no problem. And because we have social media now also talking to us, like in real time, you just go in there, and I'm already looking for the reaction to my mistakes. Like, you guys don't miss anything, do you?
Just want to say something as regards.
I mean, she once had you once had an audition story. I mean, you told a story somewhere about your audition success at Supersports, and did you always feel it would come down to that?
I think it's interesting that you asked that because it kind of leads me to what Biola was saying and I wanted to say. So for me, I do believe that it is indeed a lot more difficult to audition than the actual job. A lot more difficult. So for someone like me, for example, I was raised with live television. So I get in there, I get on with it, okay? But then if I have to rehearse, when you rehearse before, I find that I make 1,000,001 mistakes that actually put me on a back footing, under more pressure. But if you leave me and say, Chisom, this is happening, and then I prepare myself, I go live and I go. But once you make all those mistakes before you rehearse, so it brings me to that audition. And for me with Supersport, it wasn't really an audition per se, because Biola again said it, that some auditions are on the spot. Right. Getting my job was an audition on the spot that I wasn't aware of. Right. Not prepared for. I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware of it. So that was me being me with Gary Rathbone. We were on a plane together going to Abuja to watch Super Eagles. I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was. He just sat next to me, this white man. And we started a football conversation. That time, Chisom could argue for king and country because now I don't have the energy anymore. But then, even when I'm wrong, I bullshit my way.
That's because then you didn't have children.
Exactly.
And now you figure nobody will pay you for arguing.
Exactly.
You have a draining factor.
I didn't have a draining factor. You get so I was there and we had this conversation. Eventually, I realized I met him again with Felix, and then he said, "Oh, you, okay." And then he said to Felix, "Who's that girl?" I liked her a lot. We had this conversation. He's a huge Liverpool fan. And even though he was right, just to get under his skin, like Biola does a lot of time, I was going in and going in and going in. And he said, there's an audition happening. So for Supersport in Nigeria, let her be there. So I went there. Again, I decided on my own, you know what, just go over there a day before. No, because I was supposed to be on a Sunday. The second day, I said, go there and watch, just to see what they want you to do the next day. And then I got in there again without any preparations. I think it was Emeka Enyadike or someone who was late. And then they put me in. Said, Chisom, can you go in? Yeah, sure. And I went in. So I think it is a lot more difficult. But like Biola said, for a lot of people, you have to audition. So you prepare yourself to audition. But again, if you fail, I don't necessarily think it's because you are not good, because there's a different type of pressure that comes with auditioning.
Do you agree? I will jump on this one because I think to a very large extent, broadcast is very practical. Okay, it's not something, you have to fill some paper and all that and pass it and see what somebody thinks. It's very, very practical. And whoever is auditioning you has got to be somebody who understands that, look, this person at the first time may come out horrible. Doesn't mean they're not really good at it. So you are looking out for particular things. So for me personally, if I'm to audition anybody, what I'm looking out for is your diction. Your delivery can be poor. I expect you to stumble and fall. It's okay. But your diction, how do you comport yourself? You understand? Do you mind falling and still rising and still keeping on, rather than saying, oh man, I messed it up. Like Biola was at the onset. You know, those are things I look out for in audition. I say, okay, we'll give you a chance and see how it go from there.
Let me tell you a story. The very first time I was on air was when DBN TV started. And my boss said, Deji, I want you to be the one to go and announce DBN TV to the world. We had done the World Cup in 94. This was 95. And I had not worked in TV before. I'd done a few stints on radio with Larry Izamoje, but I'd never done TV. And I did what I felt was a decent job. And everybody was like backpacking me and all of that. The next day, my boss calls me to his office. And he has these 2 sheets of paper. And he says, this is a letter written by, he didn't tell me the name, he never told me the name, written by a respected broadcaster who wrote him a letter and said, that guy I saw on TV yesterday should not be anywhere near a studio. But you know what? My boss was like, my boss said, well, he looked at you once. I've seen you over time. I think you can do this job. So this letter means nothing to me. But you go out there and prove this person wrong.
Well, it's good to have that kind of boss.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if my boss believed hook, line, and sinker what that gentleman wrote, that was the end of my career.
You won't be seated here.
So at times it depends on the luck you get. I've done. I do a lot of trainings. I do a lot of auditions. There's some people you see. Tolu Shotari hadn't spoken for 1 minute. I told him to go. He was a natural.
Yeah. Right.
Some people just have that natural ability.
Yeah.
But some people some potential was in there. Biola came into our office I think he had a friend who used to work with us, and that one was used to bring him. Yeah. And Biola had these tapes. I don't know whether he stole his starter tapes. These World Cup tapes.
I wanted World Cup tapes.
I wanted to watch.
I wanted to sell World Cup money.
But when we spoke, I realized, for me, I think the mistake is everybody wants to be a presenter. No.
Yeah.
Some people are excellent analysts.
Yeah.
You would never. And that's what I realized.
Yeah.
My late partner Deji Omotoyinbo, if you tell him to come and present, Deji will tell you, don't even go there.
Couldn't do nothing.
But you ask him to analyze
forever.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I think that's another aspect. There are times
it's like with him as well.
Yes. Like there are times you audition some people and you know that he might not be a presenter, but he's going to be a good field reporter, good analyst, and not just let him talk. So
hence why I think that is absolutely very important to have that person who has that eye. I'll give you a story of
how... So you might be looking for a presenter and you discover an analyst.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Let me give you this story with how I started. We were in Jos for a game in Bauchi the following day. Felix, my boss, had just been promoted to GM. We were outside the hotel, just outside, like, hey, congrats, man, good for you and stuff. And like, so, Mozez will start presenting. I said, well, of course. I've never done presentation before. He said, I'll follow you for like 10 weeks and all that. So you say, yeah, no, you're presenting tomorrow. I said, I didn't bring cloth to. He said, what you have, you present with. So I was basically thrown into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
And I would always say, one thing is key as a presenter, as an analyst, like I said, delivery will come later.
Yeah. Don't sink.
But do you have content? Do you know what you are talking about?
Yeah.
If you know what you are talking about, people will buy into it. That was how I jumped into presentation. And the best compliment I've ever gotten was from a drunk. Years after. When Enugu dragged us to a club after the game. And as we were entering, the guy saw me and said, Mozez, Praiz! The drink was I'm like, who the heck is this guy? So went in, he came outside, took us to the VIP. This guy came looking for me. And as the guy was just shouting, Mozez, Praiz! Said, no, I'm so happy to see you. Say, look, when you started, now you were bad. I straight to my face. Nobody has ever said that to me. He said, now when you started, you were bad. You were very, very bad.
Yeah.
But in a very short time, you just improved. This was how I would never.
And let me tell you, the lucidity of a drunk man.
Look, let me see. Talking about the audition thing, Mozez.
I said to people, like I said, at the onset, you will be horrible.
Yeah. You see at HiTV, when the MD CEO was saying, okay, let's get analysts. So in his mind's eye, we're getting Deji Omotoyinbo, Deji Omotoyinbo, ex-football stars, A-listers, Fela Bankolimo. Now, this year, nigga comes. He knows my producer.
We're blipping that out, right?
No,
Just checking.
Says, please, I would like to come on. Now, unlike you, I don't listen to diction. I just wanted to hear what he knew. So he's going on like here. And I said to myself, this nigga even knows more than I do. So I tell him, you know what? Here's the deal. I don't think I told him this, but I knew I couldn't sell it to my MD. Now I'm bringing somebody that is an unknown to be an analyst. So I told him, you know what you should do? Go get a bit of experience on terrestrial television, because this is Champions League. You cannot come from amateur to come play Champions League. Go play local league first. Then it's easy enough. And you've not seen any more persistent person than Biola Kazeem. Biola is the most persistent human being I've met in my life. He wore me down, man. He wore me down till...
I didn't tell Temisan's car.
Man.
After the game, I will start analyzing all the games.
Oh my God. I know we're going home together because we were together, right?
Yeah, he used to drop
you start analyzing. I had no choice. I didn't tell my bosses the first time.
Sometimes they'll be like, look, I just want to get my BIG.
I just told him, okay, you know what? Are you ready for next week? Bam! And he comes and he kills it. And as I'm going home, Tony Sube calls me. Who's that guy? I said, our new analyst. He's very good. I like him.
Natural, yeah.
And that was it.
Right. That was it.
Natural.
That was it.
When it comes to analysis, Biola, and I think to an extent, Tega.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tega is good.
natural.
Tega is good.
Yeah.
Tega is very good.
I'm curious to know, who has taught you the most about this profession? Who has taught you the most? Who have you watched and thought, I learned so much from?
For me, it would be Charles and Azodo. Now, let me tell you one thing about Charles. You know, Charles reminds me a bit of JJ. Always aloof. Always detached. But that guy is a consummate professional. Now, Charles, I remember when we were in VI, when we started, so we had this very small studio. So we would eat in the studio, which you can't do now. But at the time, we didn't have any spaces, no green room. And Charles we were all starting. Everybody was still starting to learn how professional Supersport was at the time and still is. And Charles would be eating, and they'd cut live to Charles. Most people would be rattled to see themselves on TV with a spoon or bent.
Eating.
Yeah, or bent. But Charles, the first time I saw that happen, and then Charles calmly dropped the food. I think he swallowed in one
chunk.
And
Luckily, it wasn't yam.
and then Charles started. He moved. And I remember that time, and I saw him, and I'm like, oh my God, wow. And then it happened over and over and over. And then Charles would say to me, because one thing I think it happens to almost everybody here. I know it happens to actors as well. It is very difficult to watch yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Incredibly difficult. You don't like the sound of your voice, even though Charles is the only person who I know who likes the sound of his own voice. Who told me, man, my voice is so beautiful. Okay? But then Charles would say to me, Chisom, you must go back home and watch yourself. Because unless you can criticize yourself, you are your own biggest critic. If you don't do that, nobody can, because you know where you've made a mistake. Because somebody can watch you and say, oh, you were brilliant. But you, in your mind, you've already, you know. But Charles, for me, he's when I say, let me not say he's a natural. He's a natural, of course, but he is too smooth. That's the word I'd use.
Let me pick up on that. When you talked about Charles, let me pick up on that.
Yeah, he told me you're his mentor, yeah?
I'll go back to
Yeah.
Charles and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire presenter?
Frank.
I was the head of presentation at DBN TV, and we needed one presenter for entertainment. So Frank came, and Charles, I think they were friends, they just came together. So we decided, I said, are you here for the audition too? Said yes. So auditioned the two of them, and they were both very good. But we were looking for an entertainment producer, and Frank had been given that more or less as slot. So I called Charles and I'm like, you don't like sports? Because I was also looking for a sports presenter, but it wasn't my audition. And he didn't audition for sports. You don't like sports? He said, no. I said, well, I'm looking for a sports presenter. I can give you a shot if you don't mind. And that was how it started. And I told him one thing. We started him off like just scripted stories, just delivery. Yeah. Because I realized the first time we're going to put him on air, my boss was, why are you putting this guy on air? He has just come and said, Oga, I think this guy can do this job. So I went to him and said, Charles, just deliver the script. Don't try and analyze, don't try. So, it comes to the point where you have to know somebody's. I knew at that time he wasn't a strong sports person, so he couldn't give him analysis to do.
But he could present.
But he could deliver a script, and he delivered the news brilliantly. And that was a start. I disagree with you on the point that up till tomorrow, I go back and watch myself. Yeah. That's where I was brought up.
Everybody has to do that.
Do you hate it?
Oh yeah.
No. I do know. I do it. This is why I do it
For professional.
professionally.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I do.
You are
Professionally.
not. You are not perfect all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to the adulation.
Yeah.
And when I'm watching myself, I'm like, you could have said this better. You could have done this better. Overall, not bad, and all of that. You need to try and do that. Don't get complacent.
Yeah.
Because there's a tendency to get complacent. Like,
I
know it all. I know it all. So there has to be a certain level of humility that comes with the territory. No matter, look, I always tell people, if you come on air and you clap 3 times, somebody somewhere will say you're doing a good job.
Yes.
Of course. Exactly.
Everybody will tell you you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And then when you mention family, my kids used to harass me. They come and say they didn't like, I had to have, it was my kids that made me clean shaven. We don't like that, like I know that we don't like it. It's too grey.
Nobody can tell me nothing about this beard, man. Nobody can tell me nothing.
But the bottom line is that you are your own biggest critic. For me, I started out at the time when it was only private broadcasting. Usually it was only NTA. And there wasn't really a private sector, benchmark. But there were people like this gentleman that used to do a boxing show. There were people like Henry Nzeku and all of them who were doing. But the greatest mentor I had was Yinka Craig. Yeah. I was working in DBN. Yinka Craig walked in one day. He came for another thing. So he was like, you are the guy that does what I said, yes. He gave me one advice I would never forget. And I worked closely with him for a few years till he passed. He said, forget about the adulation. Don't get into this, I'm a celebrity hype. It's just a job. And I lived with that. Yeah. Because if you are not careful, especially Temisan said, we don't make the kind of money that other people make. Yeah. So if you get yourself caught into this, I am a celebrity type, you drag yourself into areas you don't want to drag yourself.
I think my television, first of all, it was television I started with. I hate to bring it up, but early 90s, before DBN came, there was clapperboard television. And I finished secondary school, I was waiting to enter university. That was 91.
You're old.
Oh, get off. So I'm waiting to enter the university, and clapperboard came. 20 minutes, I think, was it? I can't remember. Anyways, so they had this show called Teeny Boppers. So my friend, hey, let's go. First of all, we used to laugh at people on TV back then, in the early 90s, because we all knew they never had money. We knew a couple of them who they don't have money. So anybody we see on the other, that person doesn't have money. So I went, and it was 25 naira a week. Or so, I think it was 25 naira a week.
Was that a lot of money?
No, it wasn't a pocket loan. It wasn't a pocket loan.
Nobody started with anything.
Nobody.
Yeah.
So we got the job, me and my best friend. So we're just part of the Teeny Boppers crew, present a few shows. Yeah, do this. Yeah, for about 3 or 4 months. They're supposed to pay you 25 naira every week. I should have learned then that's how broadcasting is. They paid us once, they never paid us again. I should have learned. So I go to university, and like him, I study agronomy. Okay? So I come out, no jobs. Now you have to understand one thing, I'm a Shekiri. And I had this mentality. Look, I must work in an oil company. Not just oil company, it must be Chevron. Now, in fact, the health company, how they go. After 6 months of life beating me, I say, man, anywhere, you get work. So I'm going home, and I'm gonna jump fast forward, so LTV comes calling. And I think the best television man this country has ever produced, Jimmy Odumusu, was the permanent secretary at LTV. So he told me, I'm looking for fresh faces. I don't want none of the old people. Yemisi says you did Tini Papas back in the day. So, yeah, we'll build you up, So he was the one that told me how to do television, not sports. Because the first time I was on TV, which is normal for all of us, you're stiff.
Yeah.
Extremely stiff.
Yeah.
You just want to talk. This is the only thing that moves.
You're
It was,
treading live.
yeah, I mean, you're extremely stiff. It was Jimmy that told me, no, he came downstairs. No. Be free. I'm not saying you should do this, but just be, just. He said that it was one that told him about non-verbal communications as well. Yeah, your hands, use your hands. Just make sure, don't enter Biola's shots.
Yeah.
So he told me how to be on television. And since then, and that's why I tell people as well, when you're on TV, it's so powerful that any little thing you do,
The camera sees it.
it sees it. So just relax. So sometimes when people come on air with me, they're like this. I tell them slouch a bit, just a bit. Just a bit. Because when you slouch, it releases air.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just, so it's just, that's how it is.
So I was going to ask you, Moses, I'm curious to know, how competitive do you think the industry is? Obviously, you worked at Supersports and, Temisan and Deji, Biola as well, worked at HiTV. Have you ever felt like, there is a strong competition in the industry?
It is actually very strong. Incidentally, when it concerns sports, the airways is now very open, especially with the advent of the internet. You understand? So before now, traditional media was, of course, television was everything, radio was everything, and you could see everybody wanting to put out solid content. But now, some 14-year-old boy in one corner of his room there can create a content that goes viral, that even people on traditional media will use it as a content. So it's strongly...
The competition is now blurred. There's no competition really.
That's the thing, because it's an all-common affair right now. So it's not
And the
regularized.
gatekeeping process has been
not-
dismantled.
It's not regularized. I mean, if you have a bunch of people come together and say, okay, who's a journalist here and all that stuff. And when I say journalist, I'm not particularly saying you have to go through journalism school. But I'm saying, even if you have to sit on somebody who's gone through that same pathway, you're more or less a journalist because you've learned at the principles of how you need to be a broadcaster. That's very basic. So the competition is now, I think I like the word Temisan uses, now blurred. It's an all-comers affair. There's everybody playing, in that space.
And that means you have to be up there.
Yeah.
That's what it means. That means you can't afford any mediocrity.
Also
Because,
means that the money that was not there before is now even smaller.
It's not even smaller. So, it's a case of, look, I always tell people, even when I left DBN, I got an offer of a PR manager for another oil industry. So I always tell people, when people come to me, a few people come to me, I'll tell them, I sit them down, and Biola knows, I'll sit down and say, look, you want to do this job full time. Do you have a wife? Go and talk to your wife and get permission. Because I'll tell you what the rules are that. Yes, you can make a decent living from it, but at times it takes time. You might have to work some dead-end jobs and get some dead-end salaries like Temisan had to do for a while.
DJ, I think you should change that advice, please. If you want to do this job full time, say no, don't do it full time.
So most of the time,
Don't take care of you.
No, so most of the time, what I do is, I tell them, look, why don't you have a job, I'll be right. Why don't you
To part-time.
No, do it gradually.
Yeah.
Saturdays, go on a show, do something.
Right.
That's what I always do it gradually, build up. It gets to a point where you decide, I think I can do it full time, or you might actually decide it's not.
Let me just continue to do it as a hobby.
As a hobby. So you have to be flexible about it. For those of us who do it full time, it's like a drug. We couldn't help it. We are here and we are ready to face. But to be fair, none of us here can say we have not lived decently. We might complain about it could be better.
But it took too long for us to get there.
And it's not just that it took too long. We also had to do other things,
Other
any
things,
side hustles.
yes.
That were not just
No,
completely
but to be fair, the platform gives you a whole lot of advantages.
Oh yes, the platform
The
that
platforms
we have
you have gives you a whole lot of advantages and gives you some open doors. Some things will fall in your lap that ordinary would not.
But I also think it's hard
a lot of-
I also think it's hard to marry both the business end and the pure broadcast end. Because Biola and I did something post HiTV on Smooth FM, right? And Biola,
we stole their job.
yeah, you stole it.
We
No,
did.
no, oh, it was both of you, yeah.
Wasn't around, I just came later.
So Biola handled the business end of it because I didn't have the patience for that. To handle the business end of, especially sports broadcasting, you have to kiss a lot of asses. I cannot, for my life, do it for a long time.
I was going to ask Biola, I mean, you have made a successful, I would say,
I
transition
don't know about successful.
from broadcasting
about
on
successful.
enjoying screen time to
Yes.
administration and, the marketing, that side of the business of the job. Is that been an easy thing to do?
Well, it's not been an easy thing, but I think that maybe some of it is, I'll probably say, natural flair. I've always liked, to meet people, talk to people, manage people. I've also always liked to sort of like create, So, I mean, broadcasting is one side of the business where you just talk about what is going on in football or in sports. The creative and business end is for you to look at opportunities and create content, create platform, create property. So I've also spent some time building competencies at any conferences, classes, schools, and all whatnot, in building that. So much so now that most of my work actually is,
Back end.
in back end than front end. So I don't know if I will call it easy. I also know if I will call it successful. Like I said to people, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's valleys and peaks, it's roses and thorns. You just keep going.
But you like it.
Well, I absolutely enjoy
That's
it.
the problem.
I
He loves
absolutely
it.
enjoy
He
it.
loves it.
No,
I
you see, the
love
truth
it.
is you can't beat love for what you do.
Yeah.
You understand? Look, right now,
I like the
with
thrill of the chase. I enjoy it a lot.
with the pandemic.
I don't.
You see, with the
Just put me in
pandemic,
front of a camera or a mic and give me money.
the pandemic has literally sliced what was not enough for us before now. You understand? Almost a quarter of it. But yet, we wake up every morning and still go there, go deliver on the job. Something jumped into my mind. I need to say this also because I feel it's an ignominy at this point in time. With regards to the competitiveness of the industry. Sports is unique. It's just on its own. So it will be weird if at an event, a sporting event, you have a doctor as the compare of that event.
Yeah.
It's totally off it. So when you have people who are supposed to cater for the umpires of sports in the country, they are ignorant of how they can harness the strength of the sporting talents they have, then it becomes a key issue. Now, you may use this, you may not use this, but I'm going to put it down here. The NFF Awards, Bovey has no business. One business.
Matter of fact,
the compare of that event.
Yep.
You're going too far. In 2012, London Olympics, Olympic touch relay bearers. He was a comedian and an actress that they sent to London to represent Nigeria. It was an insult on
Massive.
all the athletes
I'll quickly
that
add to that.
represented Nigeria.
I'll quickly add to that.
And that
when you see, you will see sports associations in Nigeria unveiling musicians and entertainers as ambassadors of a sport they don't play, of a sport they know absolutely nothing about.
Now imagine, Biola, with what you're saying, imagine the Oscars now having like Cyril Ronaldo, leading.
They will shoot him.
To MC it.
They will shoot him out of
Every
there.
business is an eco business.
Yep.
It's an
There's an
ecosystem.
ecosystem for
And you've
it.
got to water that ecosystem.
Or else
So
it won't
if
grow.
not, you will literally have no system.
It is as bad as no matter how successful Cyril Ronaldo Beckham is, they still won't call them to come and present an award
And another thing,
at an Oscars.
another thing-
As bad as it is.
Yes, another thing is this, right? The Bovey thing you mentioned, yes, I do agree with you. I thought it was an insult on every
It's still
single
an
person
insult.
here and everybody who's been in that ecosystem. But also to understand that the industry in Nigeria, we don't have, or rather doesn't have enough for the people who have been there tilling the soil and sweating. And then you go bring a foreigner, something that would never, imagine me being called
To
essay,
MC
to MC the South African Awards.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes we ask ourselves why things don't work in Nigeria. You look at the music industry, they will not leave Burna Boy and the rest of them to go get. No.
I think it's a lack of understanding, and it's a problem that has bedeviled sports for a long time. People don't want to accept the fact that it's a professional field.
It's business.
It's a business.
It is a professional. People just feel sports.
You know how to talk.
Even
Go
when
on,
it
go on.
comes to media, when it comes to administration, when it comes to appointments.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, you cannot recall anybody that was made a commissioner. Maybe it started. Maybe now Deji, Shola, Dudu Orume. Maybe it's beginning to happen.
It's a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, it's a drop in the
Literally.
ocean. But most of the time, appointments are like, oh, Temisan is the youngest person in this cabinet. He'll be a good sports
Loyal. He
person.
delivered constituency.
We must give Chisom
You know, we don't.
DJ, I was in Gombe. They just built their stadium. This was a few years back. And, you know, beautiful. Of course, you need to speak to the governor, sports-loving governor.
Yeah.
And there was a commissioner. I said, okay, let's talk to the commissioner. The guy called me back. The chairman of the club there called me back. I said, no. He can't speak English.
Oh my God.
But he's the
So
commissioner
that's
for
the-
sports.
But you see, one good thing that is happening is the fact that it's gradual, but there's gradual awareness of
There's a shift
that
happening. Yeah.
importance of sports. I was called a couple of years ago and I was shocked when Lagos Business School told me they wanted to start a sports business management program. Because I never thought they were.
Somebody was thinking in that direction.
And it's a program that's gone on. They've done 2 years. We even had a trip to Spain last year, La Liga week, and all of that. A lot of people do trainings and things like I do a lot of trainings in media because I feel the standards are dropping and a lot of people just want to get on air.
Absolutely. With
With no preparation.
Yeah.
You know, but
And the audience will embrace it and it will become the progressive standard.
You know, it's a drop in the ocean, like you said, but we have to start doing something. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group have a sports industry thematic group. So there's these organizations who are well respected in the business field who are looking at sports and realizing there's something we can do here.
But I think one thing, again, Didi, I hear what you're saying with all the trainings going on. I feel very strongly how many people can actually afford to go to Lagos Business School. There's a way we need to bring this thing even much closer. Our colleagues are not helping matters, Chisom, especially with the issue. And I love Bovi. You understand? He's one of my favorite comedians. But do you know when he hosted the NFF Awards, no media said anything, nobody said anything about it. Nobody called for it. The following year, he was the same guy that was brought in.
But I do
to
know,
MC.
I do know somebody who spoke up. It is not my place.
I'm saying all
Hold on.
media
It is-
platforms
it is
should be
not my-
shouting
It is not my
help.
place to tell this person's story. But I can tell you that this person was invited, okay, and the person told them, I cannot be in that room, and Bovi will be presented.
Let me explain
I
something
will
to
not
you
be there.
about our peculiar problems in Nigeria with regards to what you guys are saying. So I am on Classic FM. I'll probably call them because this is YouTube, isn't it? Brilliant. So it's called the GloCaf Awards. So this was probably 2014, if I'm not too sure. So I am doing my show and I'm watching the TV, the awards. So on the show, I said, but hang on, this is supposed to be the CAF Awards.
A football event.
I said, first of all, and I'm on the show, I said, first of all I'm seeing, when the footballers come and they get their awards, they get 2 seconds of speaking time.
Yeah.
Then they go. Then
Administrators there.
3 musicians will come and get 20 minutes of playing time.
Yeah.
Then an administrator will come and talk for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Then a senator comes. Then you go to the next football award.
And he's got 30 seconds
And
to
that
talk
person
again.
talks for 2 seconds and goes. I said, what the heck is wrong with us? Let me tell you what happened. I get off air. I'm driving home. My boss calls me. What did you say about Glow? Why were you insulting Glow? I park.
Another
I'm on
angle.
Third Mainland Bridge. I didn't want him to think, because you know on Third Mainland, your service network can go, let your boss be, your boss is eating you out and you think you slammed the phone. I parked. The man ate my butt out. And I told him, this is what I said. Didn't insult Glow.
Just
I was
making a
talking
point.
about the award itself. Just itself. So he called me up later that as soon as I got off air, the NFF called him and Glow called him. That I was insulting the awards. Now, if my boss was not my boss, what would happen to me? I'll be out of a job. And that is the problem we have in Nigeria as well. We don't own the sporting media. We need to own sporting media.
Exactly.
For
That's what
it
I've
to
been waiting
change.
for. Yeah.
We
That
need
is
to
so
own
true.
it.
In many ways, it's that the biggest problem we have as an industry?
Yes.
Let me tell you what I think.
let me
Let me tell you what I think is our biggest problem in the industry. It is that, and I use this example a lot. So 25 years ago, if you read the headlines of the problems that the entertainment business had, music and movies and sports, they'll probably be at par. Lack of investment, not enough money, yada, 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 yada. We all can see the kind of strides the guys in the music industry
And movie
have made.
industry.
We've seen the kind of stride people in the
comedy as well.
have made. Entertainment generally. But the same problems that bedeviled, for instance, in Nigerian League 20 years ago, you still read those headlines today. People being old, lack of security in stadium, bad pitches. Like, it's almost like there has been absolutely no growth and there's almost no intent to grow. What that does is that there are no open spaces for people to do things. If you look at the EPL, the ecosystem of the EPL, the broadcasters are just a small part of it. The broadcasters are eating good. They have all sorts of websites, Guardian, Daily Mail, and all whatnot, making millions of pounds because of traffic from all over the world, people trying to consume EPL content. Some of their journalists are global superstars because they report the EPL. The impact of the EPL and the globalization of it has had such a huge impact on their media that people in the media are eating good. You move on to other parts, ticketing. You move on to something even as groundsmen, concessioning, stadium security, data,
Transport,
internet, tourism, and all of these things have created open spaces. Literally every young boy that comes to in Nigeria either wants to play football or wants to report football. There's nothing else in between. And there's supposed to be, the value chain is supposed to be so big that even if you don't have talent for reporting, you can have talent, for instance, for PR. For clubs should have like PR agencies. They should have activation agencies. There should be a full ecosystem.
Well, I think what we need to do, I'm done with feeling sorry for myself or the industry. And that's why we do some of the things we do. I think, for instance, I feel that, one, we don't tell our stories enough. We are not cultivating our history. A Super Eagles player one time said he didn't know who Segun Odegbami was. You can't blame him.
He didn't read it. He didn't
read it.
see it.
Didn't see it. So, I think it's gotten to a point where we have to. Somebody mentioned owning media. We have to own media. Even if we will start it small. Some of us are trying to start a Nigerian sports news streaming service that reports only Nigerian sports 24/7. You start it small. Even if it's from one little room, start streaming. You've got to. The Bible says, "Do not despise
the days of humble beginnings."
Yes. We have to start doing these things ourselves. If you can build that kind of service to the point where 1 million Nigerians are going there every day, nobody would ignore you.
Yes.
There are some guys who did a Nembe. Nembe is some guys have a name.
Dambe.
Dambe.
Yeah.
You need to go to their website. You need to see the numbers.
Thousands of views.
They didn't ask anybody
For any permission.
We need to start doing some of these things ourselves. The problem sports has is, like I said it here, is that our government still sees it as any recreation.
It's part of the political system.
It's
almost like the
easiest part. They do not see the business in
End
it.
of it, yeah.
They
don't see the business in it.
They don't want to
And
see it as well.
a bigger problem is that, so they keep putting people who have absolutely no idea in key critical positions in the sporting industry, and that's where it's not growing.
Expand the space.
And that's why it's not growing. So I think it's gotten to the point where you even see sponsors. There was a time you go to Abuja. Super Eagles are having a post-match or pre-match press conference. They have sponsors who bland background.
Yeah.
You will not see a single. I have to tell one thing. You guys are paying so much money. Now it's improved because people talked.
Yeah.
We have to own our media. With all due respect to all the media here, nobody is actually telling our sports stories.
That's true.
Some people don't even know that we have a rich sporting history.
That's true.
When you say own media, you mean broadcasters go ahead and own
Yeah.
own
On
media.
every aspect of owning media.
Every
aspect of
The
owning
radio
it.
station, with the TV station, with the streaming service,
Digital service,
we
every
have
aspect.
to.
PR agency.
I think very
every
importantly,
aspect.
there has to be need to have digital footprints because that's the space where we are all operating on. You understand? Every radio station right now has a camera in there running IG Live or Facebook Live or something
Like
like
Biola said, look, I'm
I
looking
know-
at the ecosystem. Sef.
Yeah.
Let me give an instance. My friend Buki, her PR agency, represents Burna Boy. Yeah. And now Naomi Campbell. Yeah. From here.
Bookie that was in the class.
Buki was in Classic.
Yeah.
So she's running Burna Boy. She used to run Olamide. So she's done all that. And she told me, He said, I've been thinking about looking at sports as well. Why don't you come do that for me?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. You see? But I said to myself, but how do I start it? Am I going to tell, if I tell, for instance, Samuel Chukwueze, pay us
X
amount every month, every quarter.
Let's do
Let's
it.
represent you. Those guys will probably think I'm talking a lot of bull. Because, for instance, see that when NFF had the GAC motos thingy,
Yeah.
and it was smart casual.
Yeah.
Did you see those two footballers?
I saw
Paul
them.
Onuachu and Samuel.
I saw them.
I sat and I said, couldn't anybody tell them? They look absolute, that's the word, homeless.
Something as basic as photography.
Photography.
Photographer.
Yeah.
They're telling that Victor Modo,
Tell a story.
they're telling him, he tells them, look, you're having a match. And Victor, who is a professional photographer, comes with a package. And he tells Leon Balogun and Samuel, and you know what? From training to the full match to afterwards and everything, I'll document it for you. Put it in an album and all. So look, you know what I mean? Proper pictures. Yes. I'm not them. How much is it? Maybe $1 million. No. Then they start saying it's pictures.
Yes.
And he calls him, bros, man, I send you smart now. If you give me like 5 pictures, that is what we have to work with. Yeah. How do you convince that man?
But when you
That's
say
important.
that ties back to what Uncle Deji is saying, in the sense that if the boy continues, eventually he will prevail.
Look, Temisan,
eventually somebody will buy it.
I'm not trying to do PR for so, but
Yeah.
there's a young man who spoke to me. He lives in Canada. He has this Eagles tracker.
Yeah, I know you
Eagles tracker. And we've spoken back and forth. I just told him, just keep going on.
Yeah.
He signed Rashida, he signed a few people. And by the time other people see what the impact is making with some, they would call him and say, come and do the same. That's what we have to do. Just start what you need to. Grab it, do what you need to do.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Continue to do it, continue to develop it. Because all these things, at the heart of it is what you call content.
Yep.
It's content in various forms. Yep. Yeah. It is content that is king. I attend there's an NAB show I attend in Las Vegas every year. It's a professional training place. But they call it, their theme, their eternal theme, content is king.
Yeah.
In our industry, it's content. From whether it's programming, whether it's a event, whether it's the quality of your content. And if the content is good enough and the numbers show, everybody will fall in line.
This is why I say, for instance, the MPFL. How do you have a league that nobody watches? The story of the MPFL is verbal. When Supersports was covering the MPFL, it was going into homes.
Yep.
People used to make time in their schedule to
And it was
watch.
growing.
And that was when it had sponsors.
Yep.
Because it was visual. But right now, somebody will tell you, there's this fantastic centre back in Rangers. His name is so. You go online, no picture, no
nothing.
video. And I say to people that football is not a verbal sport. It is visual. You literally have to tell the tale of the MPFL like
the guy that handles
like a story. You don't see anything.
When I went for the La Liga training last year, the guy who handles their Twitter handle, he said the first year, he asked them for $15,000 to run that Twitter handle for a year.
Yeah.
They looked at him like,
What the
what do you
hell?
want to do
Whose
with
Twitter
$15,000? La Liga.
La Liga, okay.
The guy that was in charge of their digital footprint was like, after 1 year, and they saw the huge numbers and they saw the impact, his budget rose tenfold. So,
And they'll be happy to pay. Because they can see
really,
value.
So the point I'm trying to make is that let's do the things we feel we need to do. Even the sporting associations themselves, when they see, if they see that you're running something for somebody, they'll come and meet you and you'll be able to name your price. But it's not going to come easy. And it might take time. It's a long haul. It's a long haul.
In saying that, would you imagine that the golden years of the sports broadcasting is behind or still way in front?
No, I think it's still ahead. I honestly think it's still ahead.
Scratched it.
I honestly think it's still ahead. There's so many things. For instance,
There's a lot.
For instance, if I don't know whether they've not thought of, but NFF, if you have even CAF, if you have a CAF channel that shows historical matches, that has, you have an NFF channel where you can watch Super Eagles matches of 1980. You know what you can do with things like that.
Start from 94.
This young generation have no clue.
And maybe, and then NFF says, okay, you guys, I want to have a media channel where you have, it's a TV channel, but it's streaming, because we know to own a traditional TV station
Right,
costs a
it's
bomb.
expensive.
But if it is streaming,
Yeah.
we can work around it. And if it's only 6 hours of content you put there on a daily basis, first of all, you go and get the rights to all the... NFF has the rights to all the Nigeria's matches. By default.
Yep.
So you start a channel like that. By the time 5 million Nigerians are on it every day, sponsors will come after
And
you.
I can
So
tell
we
you as
have
well,
to do the hard work.
I think it's the Olympics channel. The Olympics channel
that's the
that
channel.
sends you, will send you their videos.
No, Olympic Television Archival Bureau,
yeah.
OTAB.
No,
If
no,
you
it's
need
not,
to
it's
do...
not that.
okay.
It's not that. There's one, I'm trying to remember what it's called. They send to my email, and then they send me videos. Like they've done interviews, they've done
Yeah.
certain things, and then tell me you can download for free and use. You only just need to give credit. Now, all they want to do is they know that
want
there
people to
are
learn.
people need to consume
Yeah.
their product for their product to grow. So
Yes.
they need the eyeballs to
Yeah.
get the
So
money.
it's all about
They're
numbers.
They're recruiting fans. That's what they are
It's
doing.
all about numbers.
Yeah.
And which is what I say, for instance, like people don't support the NPFL.
LMC
How
can
are
do
people
that.
going to support something they
can't
do
see.
not see? You are not even recruiting people to see this. When Supersports, for instance, was showing the NPFL, foot traffic at the stadium started
Increased.
going up.
Yep.
Sponsorship presence started going up. Everything was going up. And that fundamentally is the challenge. If you go to any country, the bedrock of the sports system, of the sports industry, for this
Without
TV. Not in 2020.
Not in 2020.
So
I keep saying
all over the world, the main leagues in the world have even left traditional media.
Yeah.
They are looking to grow on digital.
Yeah.
They are looking to do VOD, where you can
Video
like
on demand.
exactly.
Yep.
We have not even gotten the
Premflix
league
is
on
coming.
regular
Premflix
TV.
is coming on
Which
board.
is the problem.
They're trying to do
And,
Premflix.
I mean, we've talked.
of
They're
course.
trying to do Premflix. You can have whatever match you want to watch to your phone.
So
to
if
your-
you go, for instance, if you do the Old Trafford tour, Manchester United, they've got computer screens. I think it's about £12 or £17 that you pay for the tour. They've got computer screens at different points where you can type in any football match that Manchester United has played. You just type it in, you press enter. It's going to show you the goals.
You
I'm
said
talking about
Biola, we're talking Nigeria here, where archiving is a big
It's
issue.
it's a big problem. But you see,
understand?
my point about archiving is this. We don't have the archives here. But if you go to FIFA, all our matches are there. If you go to CAF, I hope all our matches. That you grab that content, you can turn it into a channel. Right. You can turn it into a Nigerian football channel. Even if it's subscription, and if it's well done and well produced and well packaged, people will go there. We have to start doing those things. That's what the entertainment people did.
Again, you see, the entertainment, it was easy enough to be fair, for the entertainment people to do it because they didn't have
They were not tied to government.
They were
As
not
much
tied
as
to
sport has been
government.
tied to
Yes,
government.
sports
Yes.
till
So,
tomorrow.
the point I'm making is that we need to cut that umbilical cord.
And that's where it
get
starts
moving.
from.
and force it
We have
to
to
happen.
force it.
It's interesting. We've had that very rich conversation about the administrative part of football and whatnot. I was just going to diverse a little bit to Mozez. I want to ask you, what is the most difficult project you've worked on as a broadcaster? Does any set make you nervous in that regard?
None. None.
You wake up in
The most difficult was that first match in Bauchi, wearing a bloody T-shirt because I was actually a floor manager. And as the camera came on, I'm like, I don't know, it was like a hot potato. Felix said he would be my analyst. I just I threw it as if like, you do the talking.
You find out like it's not so hard.
Yeah. No, I think it takes time to be fair. It takes time. Takes time to be
The
fair.
truth
Yeah.
is, I mean, after that time, because I didn't expect, I was going to be thrown in that way. I didn't join Supersport as a presenter. I joined as a production coordinator.
Right.
You understand? To be on TV was not the plan. It was to be there.
It was just a job.
Yeah.
It was just a job.
I needed a job.
There you go. It was just
You
a
understand?
job.
Because I did a reality show that had South Africans covering it, and one of the guys was Amstel Motor Box Office, the very first edition. And how did I get into that one too? It was just fun. You're like, okay, let me just audition. I went for it and went on and on. Well, I had gained a bit of fame from my modeling. So I guess they needed that because it was later they told me that, look, they needed to put me in just to give it some bit of stabilizing factor because all the guys I knew, Amstel Motor are doing something for the first time, brand new, so everybody was not sure the kind of acceptability. So they wanted to put a bit of a known quantity in there, and that was how I got in there. Not because I wanted to do movie or anything, because it was about movies, And I made it to the end of the show. I was a fourth. I came fourth anyway. And the production crew were all South Africans. of course, they had some few Nigerians there, and one of the guys kept saying to me, the South African guy said, I like you. We're going to work together. But that was 2 years, haram. 2 years after,
So basically, everybody's used to... Look, here's the thing. I've been doing this thing for years. For the longest, I think it must have been even just recently, where it doesn't matter how many times you've done it. There are some sets you get to. Just before the light goes on, a bit of butterfly will just come. Just a bit. Yeah.
Can I say this?
And you just
Temisan, do you know, I said this to somebody. I said I've done over 1,000 presentations. Yeah. Radio, TV, everything. Over 1,000. And I always get that butterfly, even on the show that I'm used to.
That you do all the time.
I was talking to an elderly person, and they said, don't ever lose that, because that's something that keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
It makes you make...
you're done.
The minute you lose that, because it makes you say... Because that butterfly is really saying, am I well prepared for this?
Yes.
And that's the problem I have with some of the younger people. Yeah. Some of the younger people...
Research.
They do a few things, they feel, I have it made.
Yeah.
I've arrived. I've arrived. And, and then they feel... Years recently, I read some of these younger guys said, talking about the Nigerian league, said, we made this league.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We made this league.
What can you say?
Before some of them were born, someone like Biola was covering the league and at the risk of life and limb.
Yep. And at almost no material.
Not one.
You understand? So, you have to respect people who've come before you. Because if you don't respect, then you learn. It's a race, like
and battles to each other.
And then you have to. In this job, I always tell people, the last thing you can afford to do is to become arrogant. Humility. Even if you have done the best productions ever, keep yourself grounded. Stay humble, because that's the only way you continue to rise.
Right.